Hello, guys. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, sir. I can hear you. Good evening.
Yes, welcome. This very interesting class. How you guys holding up?
Just in the aftermath from crit, sir.
Oh,
Yes, sir.
one aftermath into another, right?
Right.
I tell you, boy. Hmm.
Sir,
Yeah.
before we begin, sir, could I formally ask you for an extension to tomorrow evening to submit the previous assignment,
This is the well,
the
hold
InDesign
on.
one?
Right. So how the InDesign, oh, you mean um the InDesign exercise,
Yes,
right?
sir.
Um um the InDesign exercise. Well, I tell you what. Um so the InDesign has three parts. The first part is the exercise. That part is a classwork. Um sure, you can hand it in. As a matter of fact, um we are going to do some classwork today, but I don't know if everybody going to manage to come. So for the InDesign one, I would say um I'm going to group that the InDesign assignment along with the other two parts together in a bucket. And we'll put that bucket on pause until we know what is for sure happening next week. Right? So let me look on this calendar. Right. So according to our schedule, we say the part that we did in class would have been due. I think I gave you guys till Sunday. You can still hand in that part, right? However, the other part of that assignment, which is the poster, um, potentially that is due at the end of next week. So in light of the whole storm and everything, we will just have to do a wait and see to see if that deadline hands up and holds up. But sure, you can still submit to me. As a matter of fact, not a lot of persons had submitted that, which I was kind of concerned about. Um,
And be due to studio, sir. Crit.
right. I know that the crit and all of that. So, um, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to just group up all of them, and you give me part one, two, and three together, right? Because all of that meant the 15%, you know. The first 5% was the classwork, and the rest of it is the design of the poster. Those of you who hand it in already, the few of you, that's good. The rest of it isn't due until the end of next week. What I'll do, I'll just collect all of them in one, potentially next week. Life sparing, and there's no breakdown in critical infrastructure. All right. So that is what we'll do. Also, today we're gonna start on 3D. Um, it is a regular class exercise today. So the same rule apply. Basically, we work on what we can work on in class. But I know that some of us perhaps won't be here because maybe you're preparing for the storm and all of that. So, for those of you who are not able to be here, then this exercise will also be pushed to next week as well. All right. So that is what we will do. Um, of course, while we're in class here, if you can follow along as per usual and submit as per usual. This is our last exercise, by the way, guys. So after this, there's no more class exercises. At least there's no more new software learning. Sketchup will be our last bus stop. So we're trying to knock it out before the unpredictable happens next week, right? Because the one thing I can tell you about CSA, in all the hurricanes I've been through while at CSA, when the work gets delayed, it just gets piled up, right? Which is not a good thing, right? So, what I would suggest is that we try and push ahead and get as much as you can get done, because the checks and balances that have to happen at the end of the semester, it still have to happen, right? Everything still has to happen in order for you to progress to your next module, to the next year. So I want you guys to use the opportunity to get as much as you can get done before there are any impending delays. All right, guys, you following me?
Yes, sir.
All right. Leave your answer for everybody else. How is everybody else? Everybody else is here. Tara, are you here? Maybe yes, maybe no. How do I hear Tara? What about Jessica? Is Jessica here?
Yes, sir, I'm here.
All right. Okay, yes. I see you, Shamario. I see a message. All right. So the show must go on. So we are carrying on the show. Today we are going to look into 3D. Anybody here use any 3D programs?
Still learning them, sir.
Okay, so Levy learning. Raheem?
Yes, sir. I'm using Revit and
Okay,
Lumion.
cool. So you're familiar with those.
No, sir. Still learning.
Oh, you're still
Still.
learning.
Yes, sir.
Cool. Don's a chief architect. Cool. I haven't heard that one in a while. Cox, you had raised your hand. What are you using? Was it Cox or I wasn't sure.
Sir, I use Revit, to be honest. That's the one I'm more proficient in. But I do want to learn Sketchup.
Okay. You okay. As is Revit and D5, yeah, garden, cool. And Rhino. Ooh. I missed the Rhino train. I want to learn Rhino, you know. Maybe Carla can give me some lessons. Rhino is getting pretty popular. Yeah.
Looks like the harder one though.
All right. Well, for me, I use a few. I tried to put most of it on this thing here. Here we go. Right. But I never got around to Rhino though. But I've used a few, and what I can tell you, right, I did put some, well, this thing gone out of the way. Where was this? This was here, right. So I've used a few 3D programs, and the idea is that for most of us, this will probably be our introduction to learning 3D. And what we're going to do is we're going to kind of transition from 2D into 3D. And over the next couple weeks, well, hopefully we'll see what happens at the end of next week. Hopefully we have internet and light and everything. But I want to show you guys how you can use 3D to assist in your design process, right? And I think to get a good balance um, for your architectural process, you need a program that you can use. You need some kind of tool to conceptualize. That tool can be as simple as a paper, but I want to propose to you SketchUp as a tool to help you to conceptualize ideas, right? Before you start to develop them further. This is before you go, into the Revit and into the rendering and all that stuff. This is just when you're ideating. Like when you bring up a sheet of paper and you're just doodling and making some sketches and exploring some masses and sizes. Over the next about 2 weeks or so, we're going to be exploring how we can use SketchUp to do that. So we want to talk a little bit about 3D. Here we go. Let me just open up this. Right. So very quickly, all right, wrong screen. Hold on a second. Sorry guys, I'm just changing some settings in my PowerPoint. Oh man, still not seeing it. Hold on a second. Oh, great, crashed. Full screen, secondary monitor. Ah, there we go. Okay, y'all seen the screen okay? Is it blurry for anybody?
No, sir, it's good.
All right, so we already know 3D because we live in a 3D world. I mean, everything we see has some kind of depth. If you stand on a street and the further in the distance you look, the smaller everything gets. This is kind of where your 3D journey begins. And the good news is that we already perceive things in 3D. So in a way, this will kind of feel natural to us, right? The things that make up 3D are going to be depth, shadows, light, texture, color. But before, we're not going to dive into rendering per se. So we're not going to be doing like D5 and Twin and Lumion and that stuff yet. We're going to start off with just kind of understanding 3D space. And we're going to transition from a 2D program into a 3D program because we've been using 2D programs for the last couple of weeks. So usually 3D programs, they kind of fall in two buckets because there's a bunch of 3D programs out there. You have general purpose programs. These are programs that can build anything. You want to build a monster, a car, or a building, these programs can do it. And then you have specific programs that are made for specific things. So if you notice here, you can see that SketchUp is kind of up into the category of general purpose 3D software, right? Which, I mean, general meaning you can build pretty much anything with it. Though I must say, you wouldn't find people building monsters and cars in SketchUp. But if the SketchUp has a website called 3D Warehouse where creators can upload models that they build, and oddly enough, you will find some models of things other than buildings in the 3D Warehouse, right? So while you can use SketchUp to build general things, it's used a lot within the field of architecture, but I don't think I would put it in a specialized software. Um, because persons outside of the architecture industry use SketchUp. It is basically a design tool. So specialized software would be, for example, like Poser, which still exists today, ArchiCAD, Revit, right? I mean, you could use Revit to build a 3D model of a car, but obviously purpose of Revit is for an architectural program. SketchUp now is tuned towards architecture, but is not made specifically for that. Like how Revit is made specifically for architecture, um, SketchUp isn't, which is a kind of good and bad thing. So what that means? That means that if you wanted to do a set of architectural drawings, you could use SketchUp, but you're going to find out that more specific tools for architecture would be in Revit. But the other side to that is that suppose you just you had an idea for, I don't know, a lamp or a piece of furniture or just some new invention. You could also use SketchUp to help you do this as well. So general software programs that you can use to pretty much do anything. I usually suggest on your architectural journey, you choose a program that is specifically for architecture, and for CSA we use BIM. Then you need a program that is more generalized, that it's not tied to the rules of architecture, you know? And for that, we start with SketchUp, right? So those are the combinations that we normally use. Anybody here use Blender? Anybody ever dabble in Blender before? Any of these?
Sir, I wanted to, but I decided to just go with a different workflow.
All right. And see, Gabriel, you use Blender, Gabriel?
Yes, sir, I have.
Cool. Now, there is I would say a third tier. So remember, you need something that is specifically tuned to architecture. You need something that can pretty much model anything. Those are the two combinations you need. Because there are some cases where there are things you're going to need to design that are not specifically architecture. Now, those two categories have levels. So for example, Chief Architect is a program that is specifically for architecture, and so is Revit. I see your message, Gordon. So maybe everybody here don't know Chief Architect, but for the person who uses Chief Architect, which one would you say is simpler or more complex to learn? Chief Architect or Revit?
Revit, sir.
Exactly. So there are levels to everything. So for the person who uses Blender, have you ever used SketchUp before? Are you hear about it, maybe?
Yes, sir.
Which one do you think is more complex, Blender or SketchUp?
Blender is definitely more complex than SketchUp. I think SketchUp is more straightforward than Blender.
There you go. So what I'm trying to say is that in these two categories, there are levels. You have things that are, you have specific software that is simple or complex, and you have general purpose software that is simple and complex. So when you guys are kind of developing your skill set in architecture, you can decide on, you know that you need an architectural tool, you need a weapon to deal with architecture specifically, but you need a weapon that can tackle things outside of architecture. You choose how complex those weapons should be, right? Now, my job is to introduce you to the simple one, which would be SketchUp. We did used to do 3D Max, but we that is more on a case-by-case basis. So the introduction is going to be with SketchUp. On the architecture side, we're starting with the complex in Revit. But we're going to do that next semester, right? Because of course, this is a school architecture, so we're going to throw you right into the deep water. Right, Leon? We're just going to throw you in the deep water for architecture.
Yes, sir.
But for the general purpose stuff now, we're going to start with SketchUp. And you choose if you want to go to the next level, which would be a Blender, a 3D, sorry, a 3D Max, a Cinema 4D. All these ones are more complex than SketchUp. But we're going to start with SketchUp. And you'll see why. And, you know, I would say one thing, let's not underestimate SketchUp. I've kind of gone on this full life circle of using SketchUp and then totally ignoring it. So, SketchUp is so simple. I need something with more power, you know? And I've ended up coming right back around to SketchUp. Sometimes simplicity is king, right? So we're going to actually start with SketchUp. Right. So let's leave it at that. So, so one of the first things to understand about 3D is that in the world of 3D, we have 3 axes, and we have some. I wanted to show you a basic kind of explanation. And then what I'm going to ask you, while we're going through this explanation, I want you to open up SketchUp, right? For those of you who don't have SketchUp, just type SketchUp in Google. Let's show you. For those of you who don't have the software, you can literally just type there we go. Right. You can literally just type SketchUp. The first thing you get is the official SketchUp site. When you go to the SketchUp site, you just need to choose where is it? Start modeling. Every time they change up this website. SketchUp has a free tier. Oh Lord. They usually have a button on the top that does say start modeling. Okay, let me show. Okay, here we go. SketchUp. So app.sketchup.com. Right. So if you click this, you will go straight to the sign in. You can go there from the main web page too, but it's somewhere. But if you type this in, you can go straight there. So let me copy this for you guys and stick it in the Zoom chat. Now, those of you who have the SketchUp program, you can use the SketchUp program, definitely. But those of you who may not have access to the program, you not get it installed yet, or there is some technical challenge, just click this link that I am posting in the chat. Cheers. Come on. There you go. And once you click that link, wait. What did it call? SketchUp. Oh no, wait. That's not the link. My bad. My bad. That's not the link. This is the link. Right. There we go. And that is the web app for SketchUp. Now, when you press the link, it's going to carry you to the Trimble login page. Trimble is the parent company for SketchUp. You can just sign in with Google. It's free. So I'm just going to sign in with Google here and just make a free account. And that's it. You're up and running with SketchUp. All right. So I want you guys to just open that in the meantime, right? So one of the first things I want us to do is to start to think about 3D space. So I want to show you guys this.
When we work in 3D software, we digitally represent the natural world, which can be measured along 3 dimensions. We have left and right, up and down, and back and forth. These 3 dimensions are called axes and are usually defined as x, y, and z. We use these axes as a way of measuring and navigating our virtual 3D world. These axes can be used to measure the position of objects, the size of objects, or they can measure the distance between objects. Imagine a city with tall buildings. The grid of the city represents 2 of the 3 axes. Any intersection in the city could be described via 2 numbers. For example, we could go to the building at the corner of 3rd and 4th. The floors of this building would be considered the 3rd axis in our 3D world. So a coordinate of 3, 4, 5 could be seen as the 5th floor of the building at the intersection of 3rd and 4th. In a 3D application, this same measurement system is how we manipulate objects. When we move an object in 3D, we think of it as moving in a straight line, but the 3D application itself measures this distance along x, y, and z. Similarly, when we scale objects to make them bigger or smaller, we measure the change in size along x, y, and z. And when we rotate objects, we can measure that rotation as happening along a combination of the x, y, and z axes. As you can see, our natural world can be described using 3 sets of numbers. Understanding this coordinate system is the first step to working in 3D. When we work in a 3D application, we're typically working in what's called a viewport. Now, a viewport is simply a 2D window onto our 3D world. Now, this window can be configured to view our scene in a number of different ways.
So for those of you who managed to get onto the website version of Sketchup, which is here. There we go. And if we choose create new document, this is our viewport.
For example, if we want, we can take this scene and view it in what's called wireframe. Now, these wires are basically the geometry of our scene. Now, if we want to go even simpler, we can go into what's called a bounding box mode, which basically just shows broad outlines of the objects in our scene. Now, typically, we want to see the shapes of our objects, so we can also do what's called smooth shading. Now, smooth shading allows us to see the shape of our objects. And if we want, we can also do things such as superimpose our wireframes over our shaded view to give a better sense as to where the detail of our geometry is lying. Now, in addition to this, we can also add color. So if we want, we can add color and texture as well as lighting. Now, some of these features are software dependent, so each application will be a little bit different, but all of the major applications will allow you to see your scene in multiple ways. Now, because we're viewing our 3D scene in a flat 2D window, we will need to navigate. Now, again, every software is a little bit different, but they all have pretty much the same navigation controls. So typically, we'll have something that allows us to orbit or rotate the scene. And in fact, what we're doing here is we're rotating a virtual camera around the scene. Now, if you can picture in your head a camera that's moving, this will give you a better sense as to how to navigate your scene. We can also take our camera and move it around to adjust where it's looking in the scene. And we can also push our camera back and forth. Now, this is called a truck, so we can truck in or truck out. Now, because we're viewing this through a virtual camera, we can do things such as change the angle of view or the focal length of our virtual camera. So we can zoom in and see this very closely, or we can zoom out. And again, we're just changing the focal length of the camera. So this is like having a camera with a zoom lens. Now, in addition to this 3D view or perspective or camera view of the scene, we can also view the scene from a 2D perspective. This is called an orthographic view. Now, for example, if we want to view the scene from the side, we can go into an orthographic view of the side, and this gives a parallel projection. In other words, this is looking at the scene directly from the side where everything is perpendicular and parallel. Now, in addition to this, we can also look at another view, such as a top view. And again, these views give us more specific views on our scene that may allow us to adjust and manipulate the objects in the scene more precisely. But the ultimate goal of this is usually to get into the perspective view and be able to adjust the camera so that we can take a picture of it or render the scene.
All right. So all of the things that we just explored a while ago, we're going to jump into a 3D scene and do that. But before we do that, I'm going to kind of take you on a journey from 2D to 3D. So what I want you guys to do, I want you guys to, you still have Illustrator, right? I want you guys to open up Illustrator. All right? Anybody here have both Illustrator and SketchUp by any chance?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Right.
Yes, sir.
Let's open in. So when you open SketchUp, the local version, you would probably get a message like this. So I'm gonna choose millimeters, right? So this is asking you if you want to create a new model. I'm gonna choose millimeters. And it's gonna just create an empty model. Come on. There we go. And this is what it looks like. Hold on. I thought I was supposed to give you a person in the middle of the screen. Did SketchUp stop giving you the person? Or did I choose a blank one? When you guys open the application, do you get a character in the middle of the screen?
Yes, sir.
I'm using the online version, but yes, sir.
Right. All right, let me use a different one. That was a 2024. Is a different version. Here. All right, good. So I'm choosing millimeters. Come on, thing. It's taking its own sweet time. All right, cool. Right. So this is what you get. So this is the viewport. All right, cool. So put this over here. Data. All right, good. So this is what it should look like. Now I also have Illustrator open up as well, and you might be wondering why. So let me show you.
Okay, so
welcome to exercise 5. And as per usual, if you log on to the DDM site, navigate down to exercise 5, you will see that exercise 5 involves using Sketchup 3D software, and there's also some tips and descriptions of how to use the application that's on the handout. Right, so you should see that on your handout if you go on the website. Okay. This first object is not to be submitted, it's just going to be done in the class, and this object here will be the object that will be submitted. All right, so I'll log on here. Here we go. There we go. Also, a good idea to download whatever you need now in case we lose internet connection over the rest of the weekend. All right, so as I said, this is going to be our last exercise. So if we jump in exercise 5, there we go. And this is what we're going to be building now. And this is what you'll be submitting as a class activity. All right. Versions of SketchUp. There is the SketchUp application. All right, so everybody have their SketchUp ready? By the way, guys?
Yeah, yes, sir.
All right, cool. All right, let's go. Load it up. You will get a welcome screen like this, and then you will be asked to select a unit. You are going to select the millimeters version, the millimeters unit. Now the next version of SketchUp runs in a browser. Before I show you that, this that you see on screen is the application. To see the browser version, if I bring up a browser, type SketchUp in Google, and you should get the option. Well, you just click on the first option that comes up. Then you would go to. Was that a question? No? Okay, cool. Right, but as I said, the website, it changes from time to time. So if you use that link in the chat, you can go straight to the SketchUp app and you don't have to like click through all of these and choose free and all of that stuff. Web version of SketchUp. Right, and when you go here, then you go to create new, and there you have it. So here we have the web version and the desktop version. So you might notice that they look a little different. These tool icons here are on the side. However, for this exercise, we will be using the desktop version of SketchUp and not the web version. But if you only have the web version, you can follow along. All right, so when you open SketchUp, this is what the basic user interface will look like. You should have some icons towards the top. Then you might notice you might have a character here for scale, and you will notice perhaps a background. In this case, it is a sky. Now, before we get going with SketchUp, I want us to make some quick alterations to the user interface that will make our experience a bit better, right? And this is why we want to use a desktop version. So first, I want us to go to camera. Then I want us to change to parallel projection, like that. Then I want us to go to camera again and go to standard views. Then select the top view. Okay, great. Next, we're going to go to view, toolbars, and we are going to turn off the getting started you'll notice that there is a Getting Started tab, and that tab is here. And Getting Started, the Getting Started toolbar refers to this toolbar that you see on top. And basically what it is giving us the, let's just say, a good way to start off using the program. But I don't want us to start with the Getting Started tab. Instead, I want us to turn that off and enable the large tool set. So we're going to turn off Getting Started, and then we're going to scroll down and look for large tool set, which you can see here. And when you enable large tool set, you will get this tool set right here, right? And if you notice, if I even turn on the Getting Started, you might notice some similarities. For example, the eraser tool is also here, and you will see some of these tools, but obviously you will see that the large tool set actually has more tools. So I want us to use the large tool set to get started, and instead of the Getting Started tool set. All right, there we go. So now that we have that ready, before we start to get going, I want to just compare our experience of using Illustrator, of using SketchUp, to that of Illustrator. Now, if I kind of roll this back here, you will see that I have a side-by-side view with Illustrator. Now, of course, Illustrator has its tool set here, and you can see that SketchUp also has its tool set here as well, right? Now, you might also notice there are a few similarities with some of these tool sets, and I've drawn these similarities because we are going to explore the user interface, the core user interface of SketchUp, and we are going to kind of compare that to how we used Illustrator in our past exercise. Now, you don't need Illustrator for this exercise. I am simply just showing this as an example, right? Now, what we're going to try out is we are going to draw our experience with using the pen tool, right? And if you remember from using the pen tool, we were able to draw lines and shapes, and we could be pretty accurate about it. So for example, I have written the letter C here using the pen tool. Now, what I want us to do in SketchUp, firstly, we're going to delete this little, this is the top view of that character that you saw. And to delete it, we're going to use our selection tool. And you might notice that the selection tool is indeed quite similar. There is also a selection tool in Illustrator. So with the selection tool selected, we're going to click this guy here and we're going to delete it. All right, now if I wanted to replicate drawing this shape in Illustrator, I would need to grab my pencil tool. And the pencil tool is the basic equivalent of the pen tool in Illustrator. They act and do activities pretty similar. Now, to navigate in SketchUp, we're going to use the mouse wheel to zoom in and out, right? Remember, before we get going, ensure that your view has been set to, your camera has been set to parallel, and your standard view has been set to top. You can know this because you will see in the top right hand corner that there is a top icon up there. Now, the mouse wheel will zoom in and out, and holding Shift and the middle mouse button will pan around, right? So zoom with the mouse wheel, hold Shift and middle mouse button to pan around. Now, if you notice at the center of your screen, you have your origin point, which is located here. And this is basically the center of your scene. And you will notice that Illustrator does not quite have that. However, in Illustrator, we do have a finite space working with. If I zoom out here, all the way out, you will see that Illustrator has a finite space. You have to be working within this space here and not go beyond these lines. However, when you're working in a 3D program, a 3D program has a viewport, which is essentially an infinite space. So because it's so easy to kind of get lost in this infinite space,
it's a good idea to always know where is your center point, your origin. And in our case, we're going to start drawing from the origin. All right, now, so remember our objective. Currently, we're just exploring the user interface. You do not need to open Illustrator, but yet still, we are going to replicate this shape in SketchUp using the pencil tool, which is located here. Now, before we get started, just to notice some other things about this user interface. And if for some of us, we might have a tray on our right that is here. Now in this case, my tray is actually minimized, but for some of us, this tray might be looking like will be maximized like that. Now if you have this tray here, what you're going to do is to just unpin it by clicking this little pin here, and then it should be able to just roll up like that. Additionally, you also have your menus up top, and you have a little area to display length at the bottom, and some tooltips that is located here. Now to get going, what we're going to do is we're going to click on the line tool using the, and this is basically our pencil tool, and this works very similar to the pen tool. We're going to start, let's start from our center point, and we're going to draw a line up. As a matter of fact, let's not start from the center point. Let's start from just any random location, and we're going to sketch this out. Now notice that I don't have to hold shift to get a straight line. The SketchUp will automatically snap when the line is parallel. So I'm going to draw the first line here, then I'm going to go across here, and it will do the same thing. Now notice the colors of these lines. Whenever I draw horizontal and it snaps to a horizontal, it gives me a red. Whenever I snap to a vertical line, it gives me a green. Same again, red. So this is how you know, like, when you are at a full 90 degree, because if I was not, the line would be black. Additionally, notice how these snap points might come up when you try to draw. So it's kind of like Illustrator, where it's helping you to be accurate, right? And it also gives you a bit of what you call polar snapping, because you can see these dash lines. If you try to hover at a point, don't click, just hover over it and move, you will see it giving you this dash line that you can use as a kind of reference to know if the line is actually straight. So that is pretty cool. All right, so I want to stop just short of here like that, then go. See, I can see that it is aligned to this point because I've gotten my reference line here. Then I'm going to go up, and I can see that this snaps to here. So I'm going to click again and click again to complete. And when I do that, notice that it is a rough shape. Now this is a freehand kind of drawing.
Right, guys. Anybody tried this with their SketchUp? Anybody?
In the software, I've turned on the large toolbox, but I'm just watching the video right now.
All right. So again, what I would encourage you to do is when you start it up, it's going to be in a perspective view. So go to Window, and then go to View. I keep mixing this up. Go to Camera, right, and then switch to Parallel Projection. Go back to Camera, and then go to Top View. So I'm actually using a top view to do this, and I've deleted this guy that it came with. And of course, go to Tools and turn on your, not Tools, go to View and go to Toolbar here. And then you're going to turn on your large tool set. I have a bunch of additional plugins, so you can ignore that. And as I was saying, you can minimize the default tray because we're not going to use this yet. Here's the large tool set. And what I did was to draw this thing, this letter C. Right? Doesn't have to be accurate, it's just a little sketch here. whatever. Doesn't have to be straight. There we go. Something
Ah,
like that.
sir. I
Yeah?
just want to state that it's kind of hard to follow sometimes because
Mhm.
we're working on a different software. Well, not really a different software, but we're working on a web version and it doesn't have the same.
Right,
So
exactly.
kind of a bit hard to catch up.
Right. So for the web version, no.
Sir,
Yeah.
just a question.
Yeah.
You said we should go on camera and then press top view.
Yeah.
I'm not seeing that on camera, sir.
This is in the web version?
No, sir, on the 25 up version.
Right. So let's put this over here. So when you go to camera, you go to standard views and then you see them.
Standard views? Okay.
Right.
Okay. Yes, sir.
Right. For the web version, you would have to go to, I don't know why they made this different. Why did they make it the same? Let me see if I can remember now. It should be on the display or camera.
Sir, it's on the scenes you find parallel projection.
Exactly. Like, thanks. Like, why not have the same thing? Right. Plan view. There we go. Right. And camera, parallel projection. There we go. And then we use the pencil tool, which, by the way, the web version is kind of the free version, so it doesn't have some of the tools that this one has. But we can use it for this exercise. But when we get into our second assignment, you're definitely going to need the power of the full version. All right. So, but for now, just learning the program, you can use this version. Right, this doesn't even have to be straight. You just can draw it. There we go. Now, I don't want you to rotate or anything in 3D. Just zoom in and out. Keep it flat. If by any chance you accidentally rotate it in 3D, just go back in the web version. Just not here. Go to scenes and go to plan view. And the same thing, go back to camera if you do it here. Right? All right, cool.
Digitally drawing, but that's fine because that's what we want to do now, right? So that is pretty interesting. Now, just like before, how we drew this this shape here, but pretty much we are kind of stuck on this flat axis. Now, what I want us to do now is to transition the shape that we have just drawn into 3D. And to do that, you're going to hold the middle mouse button and you're going to kind of push against, click and hold. You'll see the cursor change to a kind of orbit. And you're going to push or pull the mouse while holding the middle mouse button. And that will give you the ability to orbit. So I want us to try and orbit like this. Now right away you notice a difference here because what we have over here, we can only draw with on a flat piece of paper, whereas here now it is a full three-dimensional space. So because it is a three-dimensional space, what I want us to do now is we are gonna draw on the z-axis. Now pretty much we have been drawing on the x and y-axis, and our y-axis would be like this and our x-axis would be going this way, but our z-axis is now going perpendicular up this way. So we are now going to draw along the z-axis now, and that will give us the ability to draw in a full 3D shape. Now in order to do this now, you have to use the orbit tool a lot so that you can know what direction you're going, because things can tend to get a little bit confusing when trying to go in 3D. So what we're going to do, we're going to full screen this because we have left 2D behind, and now we're able to draw in the third dimension. So let us continue here. And this time, what I want us to do is we're going to draw this line vertically up. Now notice how I'm getting this color line now, this kind of bluish purple line now. But if I continued on the x-axis, I would have gotten the green line. And if I, this is the y-axis, sorry, I would have gotten the green line. And along the x-axis, I would have gotten the red line. So that is how you keep track of how you are drawing, as things can tend to look a bit confusing in 3D. For example, if I'm going this way, what direction am I really going? I don't really know, because the line is black. It might just be my view angle that's making it look all weird.
Sir?
But when it snaps to a color, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry to interrupt, sir, but
Yeah,
when
yeah.
I preview it along the things, the x-axis, I'm seeing that color, but for the vertical now, I'm where you are, by the way. For the
Right.
vertical, it doesn't look like it's perfectly vertical. It seems somewhat slanted, and it's not snapping to be
So-
perfectly 90 degrees.
Right. So if you try to there you go. Right. And you got your pen tool.
Yes, sir.
You're saying you don't see, it doesn't kind of snap to the different colors?
No, it snaps to be okay. For the x-axis, it snaps to be red, but for the y-axis, I'm not sure if it's perfectly vertical or it's just the
Right, so
angle to
it
which I'm
should-
doing it.
Well, you kind of feel it, you know. You see, like when it does that jump, see that jump there? Does it do that jump for you? And then, of course, you would see the line, which would be blue. Are you
Okay,
seeing
let
that?
me actually press it and see if it's
Right,
it's
'cause you don't.
vertical. Okay.
Okay,
is.
cool. Cool.
Know that, okay, I'm definitely going along this flat axis now. Our red color, you know that, okay, I'm definitely going along this axis now. And of course the purple color, or the blue color rather, I definitely know I'm going upward on this axis now. So I want us to use these color axis highlights to help us to create this shape. So what we're going to do now, we're going to now try to angle our shape in a way so we can go up on the Z axis. Let's kind of do it like that. Now, it doesn't matter how tall you make this. The key thing is to make sure that you are on the Z axis. So we're going to do that. Then we're going to come across along the Y axis. And what I want you to do while you're drawing this is to use the middle mouse button to just kind of hover so that you can have an idea of what axis you're drawing in. Now, I want it to line up with here. So what I'm going to do is just hover at that point and just slowly move my mouse up. And you will notice that it is giving me this line here that will help me to be aligned with this point. Alright, so I'm going to go there and then I'm going to attach it here. Now once I do that, notice that this also gets a fill color as well. And if I orbit around, you can see that I've clearly drew a 90-degree angle here. Alright, so we're going to continue with this shape to just get it done. So we're going to go like this, and we're going to do that same thing again. We're going to hover at this point and slowly push the mouse up, and you will see where it will mark that out for us. And we're going to do the same here. Kind of hover from this point. There we go. And we're going to do the same here. Now hover from this point here. If it doesn't work the first time, you have to just kind of go slow with it. Now this might be a bit tricky, because notice that this line is aligned with here. So what, in cases like this, you want to change your view slightly so that you don't have two lines overlapping over each other, and things will tend to get more confusing that way. Then we're going to continue down here. Let's go slow. And down here. And across here. And we're going to go up again. Like that, and then we're going to close this. Now watch what happens when I close this shape. Notice that the entire shape closes, and when it closes, this simply means that, well, everything is correct. And now we have drawn this shape fully in 3D. So great, so now that we have gotten the hang of this, we were able to draw this shape starting from a complete top-down view. Now, what we're going to do is to try another shape, but this time I want to change our view to, so we're going to change it from parallel projection now, and now we're going to change to perspective. And that will give us a kind of perspective view. So when we angle here, we can clearly see that we are in perspective now. And this time, let us try something a bit more complex. So I'm going to sketch the letter E. Now to do that, I'm going to start at a random position, just like before. And I'm going to try to keep these lines parallel. Remember, you know that it's parallel based on the color. Now notice now that I'm drawing in 3D, full 3D, instead of a top view. So now you need to keep an eye on what direction you're drawing, because if I'm going upward on the z-axis, notice I'm getting a blue line, and if I'm going across, notice I'm getting a green line. So these lines become important, especially when you're drawing in 3D. So I'm going to go up on the y-axis now, and when it goes here, I know that this line is perpendicular, but of course perspective can kind of trick us. So notice how this green line here, well, this line is actually parallel. If you take a closer look at this, in perspective, this line is actually parallel to this line. But because it's going in a perspective, it's hard to really see that. So this is why these colors become very important, because the green is telling us that, hey, this is parallel to this, even though from a visual standpoint, because of perspective, it doesn't seem parallel. So we're going to go up. Now in cases where this might look a little weird, what you can do is kind of hold the middle mouse button to orbit your view. There we go. We're going to go across, down, and you know, this is supposed to be fairly easy. What I'm doing is sketching, so we're not going by real precise measurements, we're just kind of eyeballing it. There we go. Okay, great. Now this time around, instead of manually drawing each side now, we're going to use another tool which is called the pull push tool, and that tool is actually located right here. And what the pull push tool will do for us is, if you just kind of click it here, and we notice when you hover over a particular section, it becomes highlighted. So you hover over the E and you left click and hold and push the mouse up, and what it does is extrudes the shape for us.
Now, I believe with the new, with versions of SketchUp, you don't have to click and hold when you push it up. Once you hover over the shape and click once, you can just rise up the shape, and you just click and release once. You don't have to click and hold and push it up. You just click and release and then move the mouse, and then it will set the height.
Now this is true on any surface. So for example, if I go back to my original shape here, I could extrude this higher or lower. I could extrude the base higher or lower, and this is all using that push pull tool. All right, so far we have used the push pull tool, and we have used the selection tool. We know that the selection tool allows us to select different objects, and the push pull tool allows us to extrude an object. We have also used the pencil tool, and the pencil tool we have used to actually create shapes. All right, great. Now, a further breakdown of what these tools do are found on the handout itself. So if you go to the handout, you'll notice that there's a short description for each of these tools here. So in case you don't quite remember what they do, you can always refer to this. All right. So now that we've kind of gotten the hang of this, we are going to now explore how we can do this, but now using measurements, as what we've been doing so far is kind of a freehand 3D modeling, which is what SketchUp is great at. To be instantly able to pull or push different objects is really awesome, because if it was a building, you would be able to explore like different ways of doing something just by simply pulling and pushing. It's a great tool for doing massing, and it's also good for doing accurate massing as well, which we will see now. Now to get
All right, guys. So anybody tried that out?
Yes, sir.
Finished there.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All right, pretty cool, right? Some of you might be using SketchUp for the first time, but some of you might be used to it already. One thing we can possibly all agree is that it is dead simple. Like literally, we can just like how we use the pen tool in Illustrator to draw something. Now we can do the same thing that we did in Illustrator, but we can go in the Z-axis. And the interesting thing about this is that 3D is actually a type of vector. Remember we spoke about vector graphics. What is vector? It's using lines. And a 3D shape is made up of lines. And what I love about SketchUp is that SketchUp kind of lets you do the best of both worlds. It's kind of like Illustrator where you can draw a line or a box or whatever, but now you can draw in the third dimension. You understand? Yeah, Levy.
So is there an undo button? No?
Yeah, Control Z. Same
Okay,
as
what's the-
Alpha.
What's the future button?
Control Y.
Okay, sir.
Right.
Thank you.
So, just as a tip, guys, if you're drawing something in SketchUp and when you close a shape, it doesn't close. So, for example, if I am drawing, notice how when we use the pencil tool and we draw something and we close it, it should get a solid shape. So notice you get a solid there. If we draw something and it doesn't close, I don't know if I can replicate this. All right, notice I draw this shape. Everybody can see that? And you saw that I close it, right? But notice I'm still seeing through it.
Yes, sir. That happened to me.
Right. Now the reason SketchUp is notorious for this, and the reason for that, if I rotate this, what you notice happen? I actually didn't stick to the axis. I actually drew this very awkward shape, but from here it looks like, oh, it's a flat shape, but it's really not. This is what it's doing. So this is called a non-coplanar surface. Coplanar means that all of the planes are flat. So when it's a non-planar or non-coplanar, it means that the flat polygon, the surface of your 3D shape is not flat, which is obvious. This isn't flat because this is doing some kind of crazy shape. However, if I draw a line from here to here, then notice that this gets a surface here because this is a flat surface, but the rest of it is not. So if I draw a line from here to here, then this gets a flat surface. So if you look at this weird origami shape, I'm kind of orbiting around it so that you can get an idea, a feel of it. You see, so I had to break these up in smaller pieces. So basically what I'm saying is that if you're drawing something and it doesn't close and give you a fill, that means that something is lean. All right, guys?
Yes, sir.
All right, so now when we open a new SketchUp, and notice that before we have selected the architectural millimeter template. Now, if
Right, so
just
what
in
I
case
want you
some of
guys
us-
to do is I want you to just start a new document, right? Let's go new document, choose millimeter again, and we're gonna just run through how can we create this that has dimensions, right? This is the difference now because before we were just drawing randomly, we're just sketching. Now we want to draw with precision. So this is not the class exercise, this is still practice, right? So if you are advanced in SketchUp already, you can just skip over and just do the exercise directly. But if you're using SketchUp for the first time, definitely follow along. Yeah, Levy.
Sir, so the body again.
No, man.
Yes,
No
so
bother, man.
leave this one and make a whole new document.
Right, right. You don't need to save this.
Okay.
Just click
How do
New
I?
Document, millimeter. So you just go to File and go New. It will probably ask if you want to save, and the dialog box will come up again asking you,
I
do
press
you
no.
want millimeter or what? Right. So don't save. You don't need to save that.
Put me in a whole new one then.
Right. A whole
Okay.
new one.
Yes.
Right. So that was just a little warm up so you understand how to feel out SketchUp. Yeah, Shane.
Yes, sir. Question. The thing for the I just got my SketchUp up and working just a while ago. There was something that he did for the tools to get like some advancing. What did he do to get that again?
Right. So to get the more advanced tools, you go
Yeah.
to View and go to Tools. And when you go there, you will see a list of all of your tool sets.
Yes, sir.
Right. So we're using the large tool set, and you can actually turn off the getting started one. Because the getting started one is like, it's kind of like what you get in the online version. You get a very simple tool set, but the large tool set now will give you tools.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Yeah, man.
Sure.
Gordon. Oh, go ahead,
Uh,
Levy.
Yes, sir. We could save a preset similar to Illustrator. Like when you open it, it already has a layout of pop-up menus and all that.
Yeah, but you don't need to save it as a preset. Basically, however you arrange SketchUp, it's supposed to load back when you close out the program.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Right. So just like how Illustrator, Photoshop, you had your tools on the left and then you had panels on the right. SketchUp also have panels, but we're not going to go into it for this class. We'll probably do that next class, providing we are all dry and have power. Yeah, Gordon.
Sir, when I created a new file, I didn't see a dialog box to set the dimension.
Oh, that's fine. If you didn't see a dialog box for any reason, you can just go to Window and then go to Model Info. And then you will see Units, and you can just choose the units here. So Window, Model Info, and then go down to Units, and you can just choose decimal millimeters. All right. All right, let's continue. So if you're just jumping in, just skip the first warm up, just jump straight to this. All right, because we're still warming up.
Might not have selected the right units. We can additionally change the units by going to Window, Model Info, and then you will see units right here, and we can actually change the units. And my units is currently set to millimeters and decimals, and it is set to display like that. So that is how I know my units. However, because I have selected the template, those were already set up for me. If you selected the incorrect template, you can just set it up in here. You can also change these measurements at any time during your drawing, and it will automatically adapt. Your drawing will not be out of scale. All right, so I'm going to close that. Now to get going here, first thing I want to do is remove our reference object. So I'm going to just click it. Notice when I click it, you see this blue highlight comes around it. So this highlight here is known as a component. Now, how do I know it's a component? Well, there is actually information on the objects that you select, and that information is found on our default tray. Remember, that was the tray that we minimized over here for me. So if I maximize that default tray and I pin it, let's pin it there. Notice that any object I select, so I select this object and it tells me some information about it. So it tells me that it is a component, it has a definition, kind of like a name, and that it is untagged here. There's also some options here that you can do to turn it off and lock or unlock it and so forth. So that is where I would get model information. Now we don't need this now, so I'm just going to close that out, and we definitely don't need this model, so I'm just going to delete it. Now the first thing we need to do is look at some of our dimensions here. So I'm going to actually zoom in here, and this form of modeling, which is called solid modeling, because essentially what we're doing is we're going to create this shape from solids. So when beginning to model, the first thing we want to do is think of it as creating a sketch. And some of us can draw by hand, and if we see an image and we want to replicate that as a sketch, we kind of picture the image in our minds, and then we try to execute that using our hands and drawing the sketch. In this case, it's pretty similar, but instead of using our hands, what we're trying to do is to think about ways that we can construct this Lego block together. So let's look at that up close. One approach that we could take to create this Lego block here, I'll just single it out here. Well, we could draw the base first, so we could draw that, and if we translate this in plan view, it would perhaps look like something like that. Then what we could do is translate these measurements. So these measurements here would be equal to the measurements here and here and so forth. Right? So of course remember that this is the plan view. Then also notice that there is a height measurement next. So we could use the push-pull tool to push this shape up to this height. So when you are creating a 3D model and you have to construct it, this is the kind of mindset that you need to have. You need to kind of break down your shape into basic forms and try and create those basic forms, then manipulate them to get the details that you want. So let us investigate that. So let us, if we now use this approach, we would first need to draw this base here. Now it is 8 millimeters and it is a square, so it should work out to 8 by 8 millimeters. Now, how do you know what is 8 millimeters? Now this is where things might get a little tricky, because 8 millimeters is actually quite small in comparison to that model that we had. So the first thing we could do is we could get our pencil tool. Then we're going to start from let's get our pencil tool in SketchUp. There we go. We're going to start from the origin here, and we are gonna, well, let's pencil out our plan first. So we want to draw pretty much a shape like that, and then we want to use a push-pull tool to extrude the shape upwards. That is our game plan. So in order to do that, we are gonna first draw that shape. Now we are gonna choose the pencil tool first, then we're gonna click once. Now we're gonna drag along this red line here.
Yeah, what's up?
Do we have to do it in the millimeters? Would we be able to just scale it up?
I would say to practice it in millimeters, because for the exercise you have to do it in millimeters.
Has to be done in millimeters.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
I mean, just to get your practice right of dealing with units and stuff. Like because we're still warming up with this exercise, so if it's not accurate, that's fine, because you're not submitting it. But for the one after
I was looking at the actual one, and it says like a 9.6 and an 11.2, and my SketchUp, yeah,
it's in meters.
That's millimeters. No, that's in millimeters, but my SketchUp doesn't allow me to go into half millimeters. It's only, I can't do a 9.6 millimeters. It's either 9 or 10.
Yeah, man, you can. To do that, what you need to do is just go in, go back to window and go to model info, and you need to increase the precision. So you would put the precision to 0.0. So that way you can do point something.
I'm in model info, where
and then you go to units.
Units. And millimeters.
And then where it's a precision, you do point.
Okay, I see.
Right. So now you should be able to. And the interesting thing with SketchUp, even if you set your precision to be not a decimal point, and you type 9.5, and it show you 10, it's still 9.5. Like the actual measurement is what you typed.
Oh, okay.
Right.
Thank you.
Yeah, man.
And notice when I drag along this red line, what happens, right? And if you look closely, you will actually see that when I drag along this line, this value here actually changes, right? So let's look at that again. While I'm dragging this line, you can see the value here that is changing as we go. So right away we can get 8 millimeters there because we could simply just type this in. So let's explore how we do that. Now we can clearly see that, you know, this length is about 300 millimeters. So 8 millimeters is going to be teeny, very tiny. So we need to zoom in some more using the mouse wheel. There we go. And then we're basically operating at a kind of a larger scale. So now in order to get the 8 millimeters, you're going to hover along the edge of this red line. Then you're going to type 8. Now when I press the letter 8, notice that that 8 shows up in the bottom panel here. And that is the 8 that I just typed. Now, the line is not 8 just yet. I would need to now press the enter button. So hover along the line, press 8, then enter. Now notice that it has given me a line that is 8 millimeters. Then I need to go across, and I'm going to press 8 again and press enter. Then remember, I'm in perspective, so even though these two lines are parallel, it doesn't appear to be because I'm in perspective. So I'm going to come back across, and this is important that I hover and the line is red. So there we go, and I'm going to hit back here like that. So pretty much what we have here is the base of our model, right? Which is pretty much this section here. So that section there is what we just drew now. So what we need to do is to use the push-pull tool to go up, and that would allow us to get a shape roughly like that. Alright, so let's go. So we're gonna use the push-pull tool, and if you remember where the push-pull tool is, it is this tool right here. Alright, great. So we're going to grab the push-pull tool, and how tall should we make this? Well, we can see here that the height is 96 millimeters. So we're going to hover over. Now we need to hover over it for it to be highlighted. Notice how when you hover over it, it becomes highlighted with dots. So you need to make sure that it's highlighted. And you're going to click once and move the mouse up, and then you're going to type 9.6 press enter. Alright, great. So now we have the basic shape. As a matter of fact, you can start to see the shape come along nicely here. Now we do need to draw this circle in the top, and if we look at the top view, we can see that the diameter of this circle is 5 millimeters. So that would mean that between here and here is 5 millimeters. Now this is where the sketching skills will come in, because we know that the circle is at the center of this box here. We also know the full length of this box here, and if this is at the center, then essentially you would need to subtract 8 from 5.
5 from 8.
Subtract 5 from 8, which you would get 3, and that would mean that each of these distances here is 1.5 and 1.5.
All right, so do you guys understand how I work that out? Pretty
Yes, sir.
technical drawing, right? Come back again. Yeah, basics. All right.
So this is just from doing the simple math. Now, if we look back at our model that we have here, we know that the circle, this circle here, should land somewhere in the center here. We know that it's going to be in the center, of this line here. And we know that these distances here should be 1.5 for each area. So in order to do that, we're going to use another tool in our arsenal, and this time we are going to use the tape measure tool. Now the tape measure tool is located here. That's the tape measure tool, and that tool is primarily used for you to set up reference lines. So you can.
So I'm wondering, does the online version have the tape measure tool? Oh,
Yes,
yes. Okay, lovely. Good.
Know where offsets are, centers of things, distances. So we're going to test out that tool now. Right now, to use the tape measure tool, you're going to click on it, and how the tape measure tool works is, in this case, we want to find the center of the shape. Now we could do that by simply drawing some diagonals. So I could draw a diagonal from here to here, and I could draw one from here to there. Now tape measures are reference shapes, reference objects. So this is actually not cut. This is not cutting the actual model. Now, just as a reference, I'm going to undo this. You don't need to follow me with this example here. But if I seek to use the pencil tool to mark out my center, let's say I draw a line here and I draw a line here, right? And you might say, well, this is doing the same thing as my tape measure, but actually it's not, because what this actually does is split the mesh. So for example, if I should use a push-pull tool now, you will notice that these are actually independent shapes because I've literally split the mesh. Now, so ideally I wouldn't want to split the mesh, because all I really need to do is to find the center so I can put the circle. And I don't want to have to unnecessarily give myself more work by cutting this square just to get the center here. So I'm going to undo that. A better way would be to use the tape tool. And the tape tool will give us an outline, but it will not cut our mesh. So if I go to the push-pull tool, notice that this is very much still a full mesh. Now I've gotten to the center of my object here, and I know that the diameter of this circle is 5 millimeters, so hence the radius would be 2.5. So what I can do now is to get my circle tool, and your circle tool is located here. Okay, so your circle tool is located here. So we're going to click the circle tool, and we're going to put this at the center of these intersecting lines. Notice that it snaps, and we're going to make this radius 2.5. All right, great. So this would represent where this circle is. Now our next step is that.
Yeah.
So I was just wondering, where can I find the circle tool in SketchUp web?
In the web? Oh.
Yes, sir.
Well, if they don't have it directly in the web version, they have the rectangle tool. Do they have the arc? Oh yeah, they do have it. You have to expand it with the 3 dots. So it looks like they do actually have the same amount of tools. Almost, yeah. So you just expand it with the 3 dots.
This actually has a height of 1.7 meters. So we're going to grab the push-pull tool now and push this up 1.7. All right, so you can kind of see now how it is coming together. Now, of course, there is one major component that we have to consider. This is how the inside of this Lego blocks looks. But obviously, if we look underneath, we can see that this is a solid block. But we need this block to be cut just like this. So it's going to require more sketching, 3D sketching skills in order to figure that out. Now, the first thing we want to get is, what about this hole in the bottom? If I look underneath this now, you can see that I don't have a hole here, but there should be a hole like that. So therefore, you're going to need that distance here. You're going to need the distances here in order to know where to cut this hole. Now, in order to get that, if we look carefully on this sketch, we can actually see that this edge here basically aligns with this line here. So we can actually use that assumption in order to know how wide this is. And we know how wide this is because we know the diameter of the circle. So that means this length would add up to 1.5. So what we're going to do now is we're going to draw this 1.5. Now, to do this, let us try and explore yet another tool. Now, the tool that we're going to use is going to be our offset tool, and our offset tool is located right here.
So for online, use the 3 dots to access.
Right? And what the offset tool does, well, it does exactly what it says it does. You know, ideally, I want to offset this entire edge, and I want to offset it inward. So all these 4 lines I want to offset inward so that it gives me an inner edge like that. So in order to do that, we're going to choose the offset tool. Choose that, and we're going to hover over the area that we want to offset, and we're going to click once and move the mouse, and notice that it's actually previewing that offset, but we know that it should be 1.5. I'm going to press enter. There we go. So that gives us the square below. Now we still have a few things that we need to investigate. So what exactly is this height? So we would need this height here. And how could we get that? Now, once again, we're going to rely on our sketching skills. And if we look closely, we can see that.
Sir.
Yeah.
How were you able to position yourself underneath the ground plane?
If you use the middle mouse button. So
I don't have a mouse with me. I'm using the trackpad.
Oh, okay. Well,
Yeah.
if you have the trackpad, then you're using the regular SketchUp, the
Yeah.
local, or right. So you would need to use the orbit tool, which is this tool right here.
Orbit. Rotate. Okay, orbit.
Right.
Right.
And then you would just click and hold, and that way you can move
Oh,
it around.
okay. Beautiful. Beautiful.
Yeah, man. All right.
And I would have missed the offset tool. I've just been using the tape measure.
Right. So the offset tool now, you will see there is this one that kind of look like a circle with an arrow that the circle offset.
Okay.
Yeah. And if
hold
you're
on.
if you're a shortcut junkie,
Yeah. All right, I see it.
it's F. think it's
I
F?
see it.
Yeah, right.
Great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, man. Cool.
Here is going to be equal to this distance here. And we know this distance. We know that distance already because that was here, 1.7. So that's what that distance is. So hence we can assume that this inner part here is also 1.7. And if that is 1.7 and the total height of our box is 9.6, then that would mean that we would need to minus 1.7, and then that would give us the length here. And of course that would give us a total of 7.9. So we know that we need to extrude this inner face upward 7.9 millimeters. So to do that, we are going to go back for our push-pull tool, but instead of pushing out, we want to be pushing upward, and we know that that upward push should be 7.9. All right, so now that is the correct length. Now we do need to figure out what is the dimension here of this circle. And once yet again, we're going to be turning to our 3D sketching skills, and these skills are things that anybody in the design field should know. We should all have an idea of proportions, right? So now we can see that this distance here is the same as this distance here. So we know that this has an offset of 1.5 and 1.5 on this side, so that is a total of 3. Then now we know we would need to subtract that from the total dimension of the circle, and the total dimension of that circle is 5 millimeters. So hence 3 from 5, that would leave 2. So that would mean that what would be left within here is actually a 2 millimeter diameter after we take these out of it. So that means that the diameter of this space is 2. So what we need to do is do the same thing again. We need to draw a circle inside here, and then we basically need to push that upward so that we can get the space inside this space here. So to do that, we are going to go for our tape tool again, and we're going to just find the center of this space. We're going to use the circle tool and go here, and we know that this should be 2 millimeters. All right, actually no, 2 millimeters is the diameter, so the radius would actually be 1 millimeter. There we go. So now that is, this space here is equal to that space there, and we did that with simple proportion and math. Now this space needs to be pushed upwards to cut out this space here. So how high upwards does it need to go? Well, we need to go to here, and we can see that this is aligned with that area there. So henceforth it's the same depth as this, as the top here, and that distance was 1.7. So we're going to grab our push-pull tool, and we're going to go up 1.7. all right, now basically we have our shape there. However, we do have one element that is left, and you can clearly see that the word Lego is written on the top here. So what we need to do is we would need to go back to our large tool set and use the 3D text tool. So to use that, we just click it, and just wait for a while, and this will pop up. So we're going to type the word L-E-G-O, Lego, and I believe it's full caps. Then we want to choose a font. I'm going to use my font. Let's just use a font that everybody has. So we're going to use Arial, and we're going to make it Arial Italic. There we go. And maybe we could do italic and bold so it's big. So we're going to choose OK. Now this text is kind of big here. So
is that a question? No? Okay.
Basically it's asking us where we want to put it. So we can just really plop it down anywhere, and then we can start to resize this now. So we're going to click, we're going to highlight it, and then we're going to go to the scale tool. Now the scale tool is yet another new tool, and that tool is located here. Once you click the scale tool, you're going to see these green boxes around it. So essentially what you want to do is grab one of these corners here and make it just click it once and then make it smaller. To zoom in, we're going to click it once, make it smaller, and let's try and do that one more time. All right, now we're going to use the move tool, and the move tool is located here. And how the move tool works is you basically need to choose somewhere to grab the shape. So I'm going to grab the shape right here, and I'm going to click once, and then notice that it's basically stuck. So I'm going to zoom out, zoom in, and hover over maybe just somewhere random here like that. Then I don't want to go back for my scale tool and rescale that. There we go. Then go back for my move tool and grab it from one corner and kind of just put it somewhere. All right. Now, if you're having trouble moving this in 3D, what you can actually do is go to camera and just switch to the top view. Then you can try and move this around, and that should be way easier. Let's try grabbing it somewhere outside. And it's kind of, that may not work out so good. Let's try. All right, now in order to test if our Lego is correctly done, there's another tool that I want to introduce to you guys, and that is called the section tool. And to do the section tool, here's that tool here. We're gonna click on it, and what it actually does is create this section box here. So I'm gonna stick it right here, and it's gonna ask you to name it. I'm just gonna leave it at the default name. And then what you want to do is use the move tool and just move this section. So I'm going to click to hold it and then move the section. And when you look, your section should be pretty much similar to this. So this is how you know that what you have done is accurate to the paper. Okay, so that is the basic premise of using SketchUp to create this shape. Now,
sir, could you go back on how you did that section again one more time?
Sure, right. So what you want to do is the section tool. So that's located here. It looks kind of like this. And once you click it, it's going to snap to the different surfaces of your model. So notice if I go to the top, it snaps to the top. If I go to the front, it snaps to the front and the back. So you choose one of these faces. So let's say I choose this face. I click once, and it's asking me to name the section. I'm just going to leave it at that and choose OK. Then all I need to do is move this section line. So I go to my move tool, which is here, and click and move this section. And it cuts it, which is pretty cool. It will cut through everything in your scene, by the way, regardless of the size of the section line. So you know, notice it encompasses all of the objects in your scene. All right, you seen that?
Not really too working for the same way for me for some reason.
Take a little while to get used to. So click the section tool, hover over the face that you want to cut, click once, and then move it.
Sir, for me, once I click it once, is like that's it. There's no more.
Yeah, then you move it. You go to your move tool and move it after that.
Okay.
Right, you move it around like an object. Right.
Yeah, now work for me, sir. What?
All right, cool. All right, guys. There's one more part to introduce you to, and then that's pretty much it for our class today. And this is a superpower that SketchUp has. And I'm telling you guys, like, if you can master the combination of SketchUp and a part of SketchUp called layout, then all of your presentation challenges will be solved, right? And we're going to learn layout today, but we can't learn everything with SketchUp today. We're going to leave some of the advanced stuff for next class. But a part of this exercise requires you to produce the Lego block, to show a sheet that has the Lego blocks laid out. So let me show you what I mean. Here, is it this? Yes. So if you look at this diagram here, notice that I have this drawing sheet here. Hold on, I have one. Do I have a PDF of it? Yeah, it doesn't matter. Here is the PDF, right? I notice I have different views. I have a section view, a view underneath. So this is really representing a sheet. Like you can imagine, you know, if this is a sheet here, and then you have a title block here with your name and whatever. And this is one model that you use in layout. And layout is actually pretty awesome. For example, I use layout a lot to present like ideas. So for example, show it this. I can copy this over. Hold on a second. Try and copy this. Put it over to the example section here. Right, so I just threw this on the mirror board so you can see it. I'll show you over here. So imagine, so if you look at this, this is actually something that I worked on a couple years ago. And imagine you're presenting this. Maybe it's a sheet that you're pinning up. You have your model. This is in SketchUp. And then you have different views. You also have labels, dimensions, titles, and all of that is on one sheet. This is not Photoshop. This is not Illustrator. All of this is done with SketchUp and layout. So the idea of and this is actually a concept for a hotel building. So the idea is that you create a sketch concept and then you lay it out on a sheet all within SketchUp, right? And you don't even have to go to like some other presentation software. And the benefit of this is that you can get dimensions and sections directly in the program, right? So that is some pretty cool stuff that you can do with layout. So layout is only available with the desktop version of SketchUp. So those of you using the online version, unfortunately, you won't be able to participate in this part. When you install SketchUp, notice you get two icons on your desktop. One says SketchUp and one says layout. So they're kind of like same program-ish, or almost like two different programs. So what I want you to do, I want you to open layout on your computer, right? So if you just go layout and you open it, it will look something like, and you even notice the splash screen, it even shows you like a little, like when layout is starting up, it shows you a little startup screen. Let me see if I can grab a screenshot of it. Here it is. Let me go back to, there we go, right. So it kind of gives you this view when the program is loading. So this is kind of hinting to you what layout is, right? Let me just title this. So this is layout in SketchUp. Oops, okay. Oh, there we go. I'm gonna make this bigger. So I'm leaving this example here so you can see what it does. So that is essentially what layout is. So this is going to be a super tool for you guys, because after you finish doing most of your conceptualization, you use this tool to lay it out. Now, this is not necessarily a tool to replace Revit or Chief Architect or AutoCAD. think of it as a way to just present what you have created in SketchUp, right? So when you open the program, it looks something like this. Crap, it's on my other screen. All right, so this is what the program looks like, but you're going to get a little startup screen that asks you to select what units or whatever. But this is essentially what layout looks like. Kind of like a simpler version of SketchUp, right? Anybody here have access to layout? Those of you who have the desktop version?
Yes, sir.
Right.
Sure.
Right. Really simple to use. So we're just going to take like 10 minutes just to kind of discover it a little bit. Because as I say, guys, this is going to be a super tool for you guys.
Okay, so now that we have our model cut as a section, we're going to look at how we can place this model into layouts where we can generate multiple views. Now, in order to do this, we're going to create various scenarios here. So I'm going to delete this section line. And what we're going to do is save different scenes first. So let's say that this is a particular scene that I would like. I'm going to go to styles because I want to set how I want my model to look, and I don't want to have it in this gray background. So when I go to the default tree and go to styles, I'm going to go to default styles, and if I just make this a little bigger here, I'm going to choose the hidden line style, or I will choose this style here, which is the construction documentation style. I think that one is a good style to use. All right, now that I've selected the style I want to have, I'm going to now go to themes, and I'm going to click this little plus here, and this will save this as scene 1.
Right, so what I'm showing you there, because it's kind of hidden behind my face, is in the default tray here, you will see, and what I do, I minimize all of them. So you probably have the instructor one up. I'll just choose this little side button here to minimize them. So in styles, this is those different ways that you can represent your model. So I went to default style and I chose the construction style, which is that. And all it does is just control how the model looks. Now, after I finish with styles, let me close that up. I go to scenes. And what scenes do, it saves your view. So for example, let's say I like a view with just this alone. I like this view. Then I just click the plus button here and it saves this as a view. Now let's say I like a view where I'm seeing everything from this way. Then I just click the plus button again and now I have a different view. And I can go between this view here or this view here. So what I'm doing, I'm saving different views of the same model, which is pretty cool.
Now, I want to take another view like this where I can see underneath my model. And then I'm going to save this as another scene. So I'm going to hit that little plus again, like that. And then for my third shot, I want to have a section view. So I'm going to go back and put back my section line by clicking the section tool here. Look at that. Then I'm going to go to my move tool and just move this roughly about to the center of here. I'll zoom in a little bit. And then this will become my third scene. So now I'm going to click the plus button again. And I'm going to choose create scene. So notice I have 3 scenes, and up the top here you will see I have 1, 2, and 3. So if I go back to 1, that's what it's like. And if I go back to scene 2, this is a view from underneath, and scene 3 is a section view. Now I could do one more scene. So what I'm going to do is, so now I want to create my 4th view. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to deactivate this section, and then I'm going to go to view and to go to camera, make sure that I'm on parallel projection, and go to standard views and go to top, and then I'm going to hit the plus button again, and now it will save it as scene 4. So now I have 1, 2, 3, 4, and those are my views. So next, what I want to do, I want to go to file and go to send to layout. It's going to ask me if I want to save this model view right now, and I'm going to say yes. Then it's going to open the SketchUp layout. Now layout is a kind of a sister program to the SketchUp program, and what it does, it uses the main model and allow you to generate multiple layouts using the 3D model that you just created. So for this purpose, I'm going to just choose a letter landscape, and notice how it gave me this view here. Now I'm going to put this view, I can click on it, and notice I have these 4 corners here, so I can crop the view if I want. I can make it smaller. I can size it smaller like that. I can move it around and put it anywhere on my sheet. Now notice there are also some icons up here. So this is like a 2D only view, kind of like using Photoshop or maybe in this Illustrator, where I could just use my pencil tool and draw random lines, or I could grab my text tool and start to type in a text box, and I'm able to move that text box around just as how I would normally move a text box around in any typical application. Now there are some other shapes that are up here. For example, I have dimensions and annotations and labeling, but more importantly, over here on our default tree, if I minimize all of these, you will notice that these are all different properties based on the items that we have selected on our sheet here. So for example, if this text that I just placed here, if I clicked on it, then notice that under text style, it would give me things like justify left, justify right. I can change the size of the text, whether it's bold. I just put this down in this left corner right here. Now I can also select the drawing I have here, and there's a bunch of different settings that I can change with this model. Now keep in mind that this is simply a window into the 3D model you just created, right? So I've actually taken a snapshot of the SketchUp model here, and I've taken that snapshot into this new program called Layout, and in this new program I can now apply additional options to it. So with this model selected, I can, for example, go to SketchUp model, and if I expand this down, you will notice that there are different subcategories. So for example, if you look here, these are all the views that I saved out. So scene 1, scene 2, scene 3, and scene 4. So I can manipulate them from here. There are a couple other options here, but the one that we're going to care most about is going to be our scale, right? So right now, we're not using any particular scale, and we are using our orthographic view. Now we also have some other additional effects such as shadows and styles, but we're not going to change those settings because we already set the style from inside our SketchUp model. So I'm going to make this a little larger. Then what I'm going to do is right click and I'm going to copy and paste. And then I'm going to move the copy. So notice now I have two different models, but they're both referencing the same SketchUp model. So for example, I can click on this view now and I can change this to scene 1. So now I have these two scenes, but they're linked to the same model, which is pretty cool. Now, same way, I can select both of these and I can copy them, paste them again, move them down. So now I have 4 different models and I can make them all different scenes. Now, the great thing about this is that they're all linking to the very same model. So for example, if I go back to my original SketchUp file here, and I decided to edit this model. So in this case, I'm going to put a little shape right at the corner of this model. I'm going to just extrude that upward. So now I have this additional shape here. Now what I'm going to do is hit save, and I'm going to go back over to the layout application. Now notice you don't see that change yet, and this is because I need to select the actual model and choose this reload button. Now notice when I do that, everything becomes updated, and now you can see the change that I just made in SketchUp. So this retains a live link to the SketchUp model, right? And this is excellent because now we can move back and forth between SketchUp. Now, some additional things you can do is you can dimension from this view as well. So if I hit the dimension tool here, I can actually draw dimensions in plan. I can even draw dimensions in 3D views. Which is pretty cool. I can also choose labels. Now, the one thing to keep in mind is that these labels are not a part of the original model. So what does that mean? Well, if I go back into my model here, and let's just say I change the length of my model. Now, if I hit save and I go back over here and under SketchUp model, I chose to reload the model. Then notice that everything changes. And in this case, the length automatically changed as well. Now, it is very possible that these linkages can be broken because this is simply a 2D overlay that is detecting the 3D corner in this SketchUp file. So that means if we did significant changes to this shape, then we might lose this dimension and we have to now redraw it. Now we can also undo, so I can undo that change and I can save again. And I can come back over here and update the model again. So just like how we added a label here, we can also add some labels here. So we could say plan. We could say 3D view 1. Now, additionally, I can also copy labels. So I can Control C, or copy, Control V. And I can move those labels around. And then I can rename this. And I think I will call this 3D section.
Great.
Now, there are a host of other things that we can do in this layout view. So for example, we can put different objects on different layers. We can also add additional pages to our model, and we can change things like dimension style. Like if we wanted this dimension to be displayed a little differently, we can change our dimension style and other things. So in a nutshell, this is what the layout view is. And now when we have finished doing this layout, we can now save this file. Now SketchUp will save as a layout file format. So it's a .layout file. And this file is always referencing the original 3D model. So it's a good idea to always save this in the same folder as the model file. We call this layout sample. Now we can go ahead and export this as a PDF. There we go. And now we have a PDF of our layout.
What do you think, guys? Pretty cool, right?
Yes, sir. Definitely
Right.
try it out.
Definitely. So this is why I was showing you my example here, that this model was created in SketchUp. But I didn't have to go to Photoshop to get these views. All I did was save different views and then label and put everything together on a sheet. So this is something that you guys can really use a lot. If you, especially mainly conceptually, I would say for production of construction drawings, then you will need more tools, more advanced tools like Revit. But definitely for schematic design, a lot of stuff that you do in CSA for conceptual designs, especially for your descripts or interims, or even for your final presentations, you could configure one of your sheets if you do your initial sketches in SketchUp. You can configure a sheet together. And next time we meet, I'm going to be showing you how to sketch concepts in SketchUp, like just like how you sketch on a paper, how you can come up with a concept and do it all in 3D very quickly without any complication. But that's where we're going to end it for today's class. For the exercise for today, what you're going to do is, here it is if you notice, when you go to exercise 5 to submit it, scroll down. Remember, this is what you're submitting. I don't need this one. This is just what we did in class for a exam. When you go to submit this, when you model it, you're going to put it on a layout sheet. So it's going to ask you to submit the exercise file, the SketchUp file, and then you're going to submit a PDF of the layout file. And you're going to do the same thing. You're going to put different views. Don't forget to put your name and stuff. And you're going to send me as a PDF file. Right, guys? And that would be the final exercise. So this would mark a milestone for you guys in the module. We're like officially halfway through, basically, the module. And so far, we would have done all of these already, right? So we've been busy, right, guys? So so right now you're probably working on your studio, the studio-based assignment, which is to create that poster in InDesign. All right, don't forget that.
Sir,
Yeah.
sorry to interrupt, but for the last class, you did a exercise. Well, I don't know if you wanted them to send it in, where it was like calm versus manic, and there was a link.
Right. Yes, there was a link. We did do that as a class activity, which is here.
Yeah.
There is a link there to submit it. So yeah, I think because we were moving in the class pretty quick. Right. So right. I mean, this was like pretty simple. Maybe
The
it's too.
thing is, I can't turn it in because it says that I've already done it from like the first time I registered, which was some years ago. So could you revamp the link possibly, please?
Yeah, man, no problem. If you already did it already, it's fine. What I need to have is, where is it here? What I need to have is your name so that I can do it there. Because you did it already, you already know what the answers are. So I just need to record that.
I know what the answers are now. Then, not really.
But with this is a class activity, so I don't grade it with percentages. I grade it with you did it or you didn't do it.
Okay.
Right? So that's class activities. I don't go down in the details for class activity. It's meant for just participating in the activity. Right?
Okay, so that means it's already done.
Right. So it's already done. Right.
Just to be clear, for the InDesign activity, I was looking through the submit the exercise, but after that I see the concept wireframe. It's similar to what we did in class last week, right?
That is true. It's similar.
But we're just doing a completely different one?
You're doing it for your design.
Oh, okay.
Right. So in class, what we did, we reverse engineered posters. So we selected a poster that was already done, the architectural presentation sheet, it was already done, and we just reverse engineered so that we could understand what exactly is wireframing, right?
Yeah.
And we kind of went through how we break, if we were to break this down in terms of shapes, this is what it would look like. For your own, for the actual assignment, no. So meaning when we go to the class website now and we here, and let's say that we want to submit the studio-based assignment, you are going to create your own poster.
Okay.
And the first step to create your poster, we did it in 3 steps. The first thing we learn how to do is how to use the Illustrator. I mean, InDesign. So we did a little thing in class. You're to submit that thing that we did.
Okay.
The second thing we learned is how do we create a wireframe, which a wireframe is just a layout of our sheet. You know, I want to put a plan here. I want to put a photo here. I want to put a label here. And we just represent it in these boxes and shapes.
Okay.
So you're going to do one of that for your poster. And the last thing is to submit the actual poster, like the actual design, right?
Okay.
Right. So I just choose to separate them so that so that we don't get things mixed up. All right.
Okay, sir. Thank
So
you.
this is
And
what-
this is for ritual?
This is using your ritual content from your ritual project.
Okay.
So you definitely don't need to be creating any content. You already have photos of your model and plans and drawings. Use that content to design a presentation sheet in InDesign. You have to use InDesign, right? Right. And you would submit that to me. So that now we would have 2 weeks to do that, which means it would be due at the end of this coming week, but that may change because of the whole storm thing. So this is what we currently kind of focused on, which is one of the assignments of the module.
Okay.
Right?
Thank you, sir.
One of the, yeah. And this is 15%. This assignment is worth 15%. Right. So that's what we did last week, and you are working on that on your own in whatever time you have available. for today's class, our exercise we did today, that is exercise 5, our last exercise, and then we are done with exercises. Right? So for the rest of the module, right, we're pretty much halfway in the module. We've been actually doing pretty good with our schedule. Remember, our original schedule is that we want to be on track to actually finish in like week 10 or 11, meaning we would be wrapped up before your final crit time segment comes in. Of course, you know, we had to get a little storm thing, so hopefully that don't throw us out too much. But pretty much for the rest of the semester, we'll just be focused on one nickel assignment and the major project, which is, honestly, it's kind of I wouldn't say repeat, but it is like doing what you already did. You're just not going to do it in class. You're going to do it on your own, right? You learned how to use, in class we did a SketchUp thing. You're going to do SketchUp on your own. In class we did a presentation thing, architectural presentation in Illustrator. You're going to do it on your own. So you're basically repeating what you've done in the exercises. The only difference is that, look at the percentage. It's valued way higher. And the module is set up this way. Notice that the exercises are not valued that much because you are learning this. For some of you, it's new. So some of you might have some really kind of, you know, maybe you didn't quite get that Photoshop exercise that good because the first time using Photoshop and, you know, you had technical issues or whatever. So that is a low stakes assignment. For the rest of the semester now, we're going to be dealing with more high stakes assignments. So it's going to be valued more, but the idea is that you already kind of did it in the exercise. So you should be good to work it on your own now. All right? So so that is where we are in the big scheme of things. All right, guys. All right, so
Sir.
Time we actually done pretty earlier. Yeah, go ahead.
Sir, remember when I was saying it before that I had the problem with the section thing? So it's there, but compared to the scale of what the drawing actually is, or the actual Lego block is, and that section that is trying to create, like that, the different section lines, it's quite larger.
It's big.
Than it. It's quite bigger, so I'm not sure if it's a sense there's something wrong with the scale-wise of the actual drawing in a sense, because I've had this problem before, or like it's giving me PTSD from when I used to use AutoCAD a lot, and it used to do that all the time, and it was very frustrating. So I'm not sure if there's a way to fix that or whatever, because it kind of works, but that large section line is like miles off from where the actual block is.
Right. So there's a couple of things that will usually cause that. When you do a section in SketchUp, it's called a live section, which is why you can activate it or deactivate it. So a live section means that, come on, SketchUp. Oh, I think it froze or something. And yes, it did freeze. Okay, fine. It's coming up again. Garden, I see you have a question. In the meantime, while I wait on SketchUp, what's your question, Garden? No. Hold on.
The exercise the
Hold on, you're going in and out.
the image, you can see the object from the bottom view. I'm seeing a cylinder.
You're seeing what you said?
You
A
hear me,
cylinder?
sir?
Yeah, you're kind of going in and out. You're seeing a what? A cylinder? A what?
There's a cylinder. I can see from the bottom view of the object where it says
Right.
it's 6.4 mm diameter. Is it that it runs all the way through the block?
No, because if you look on the where it is here. If you look on the handout, oh, hold on, you're talking about the one that you're doing for the exercise or the practice one that we were doing?
The one for the exercise.
Right. So this, yes, so this runs all the way up. Because of how this section was cut, it was kind of cut either after it. So it's pretty much the center part in here.
Okay.
Right. All right. On the submission thing, right. So same thing with me. So what I did, I ended up cutting it like here. That's why you're not seeing it. So it don't matter where you cut it. I just need to see an example of a section. All right. Back to SketchUp. So the trick when dealing with sections is that where is my tools? All right. If you have something here, maybe something very small like here, and then you have another thing here. Let's say you have that and you have that. Now, if I try and do a section like this, then what you notice, I have a huge section.
Large.
And the reason for that is this guy. So the section goes around the entire scene. So if I delete that, notice it gets smaller. If I delete this, notice it gets even smaller.
But I delete the person from One to Kill Philip.
Yeah, but you have something, man. You have something. A little dot, something far out in the distance that's causing the section line. Maybe it's hidden, but something is pulling it into all the way to Moby.
So how do I find what's pulling it all the way to Moby? That is a...
I mean, okay. You could use the outliner. We're going into like more detailed things now. But so, for example, the outliner is another feature in the tray. So if you go to Window, where is this again now? Window, Default Tray, and turn on your outliner. The outliner shows a list of every object in your scene. So, hopefully, I don't know if it would show you something that's far out. Ultimately, you can just create a new SketchUp document and paste it in there and you should be fine. If for whatever reason there is some duppy or ghost.
There is literally a duppy because there's nothing else there.
Just open a new document and run it and just paste the object in there and work with it.
Paste the object in there, so I have to do it over.
No. You can copy paste between SketchUp files, which is pretty cool. So if you have two SketchUp models open, you literally can do Control C, Control V, or you can go Control C and you can do what's called paste in place, meaning it would paste it in the exact position that it is. So for example, if I have another SketchUp here, if I have one here and I have one here, I can just select this guy here and I can just go to copy. I can go here and I just go to paste. And there you go. It's pasted. Even with the section line. See, going around the guy again. Or if I go to paste in place, it will paste it in the exact position that it was in this file. So that's another cool thing with SketchUp. All right, guys. So that is pretty much it for today. So today we covered SketchUp, This is supposed to put a major advantage, a major tool in your arsenal for doing your drawings. It's gonna get more exciting over the next couple of weeks because we're gonna learn some other cool stuff with SketchUp. And hopefully I can try and share some of my experiences with it and so give you some ideas of how you can use SketchUp. And then as you go further into CSA, you learn how do you use it along with other programs like, like with Revit and these other programs. So,
Sorry.
mhm.
I'm trying to save the scenes as PDFs. I'm not sure where to go for that.
Hold on. Why are you saving the scenes as PDF? I remember, you create scenes in SketchUp, and then
Right.
you access those scenes in Layout. And you put all of those scenes on a sheet, and then you save your layout as a PDF.
Layouts. Where are the layouts?
So remember, well, I mean, all right, I'm gonna save the video so that you can watch it again. But just so you know, part of what I did after I modeled the object, I went to File and I went to Send to Layout, and then that's how it transported the SketchUp file into Layout, and then I duplicated it. Yeah, it will be in the video.
Okay, all right.
So I'll just save it and you'll have it tonight. You give it about a half an hour or so to transcode and upload.
Okay.
Right. But as I said, guys, this is going to be a major tool for you. All right, it's very easy to learn, and hopefully I can show you guys some tricks. Any other questions? Nope. All right, well, please let us all be safe, right? Keep dry, please. Safeguard your electrical devices because you're going to need it for computing. All right, keep them dry, and hopefully I will see us. We will meet again next week, Saturday. Life sparing and all is well. All right, guys.
Thank you, sir. Same to you.
All right, cool. All right, later.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Sir, sorry, but I just have a little personal question to ask.
Yeah, man, sure.
I was just wondering. Well, I've had this thought for a long time now, but I was just thinking, just to like streamline my designs moving forward for CSA, I was just thinking like using Twinmotion, ArchiCAD, Revit, and SketchUp as like a workflow. Do you think I would need to add to that, or would that be enough for CSA?
You have a little challenge with ArchiCAD and Revit because in CSA our task is to teach you one type of software. Not that that's the only one that exists, but we can't teach you two. There's no time. And if it's a toss between ArchiCAD and Revit, we're going to teach Revit because it's just more popular or whatever. So I know people who prefer ArchiCAD. The thing is, for our exercises that you'll be doing for the next couple of years, the requirement is going to be that it's done in Revit at least up to third year. In fourth year is where you kind of get to choose whatever software you want to use. You can use anything you want to use. But second and third year, I have to actually mark the Revit file to verify that yes, you can create a drawing in a BIM program. In this case, Revit.
Yes, sir.
Twinmotion is a big plus. I would choose that over Lumion because it's just more accessible. It's pretty much free, easy to download. Lumion, you have more hoops to jump through. I don't even know if they have a readily free educational version. Probably not. What
Sir, like I already downloaded it. It's completely fine.
Right. So it's oh cool. Well, that's good. So whether Lumion Twinmotion and D5, like D5 I hear is how do you guys say it? Popping off, like it's really good. So
It
you
uploads
only
to
need one
second
though.
version.
You only need one. So you know, just pick one. They're all in the same boat, so to speak.
Yeah, then.
You what else you mentioned a while ago? You had mentioned SketchUp? I don't remember.
Yes, sir. SketchUp as well.
Right. So yeah, SketchUp is pretty good. Especially if you master the art of creating your concepts in SketchUp before you move them to full-on production. You don't have to produce everything in SketchUp because I don't think I would do like floor plans and elevation. I mean, you could, but I would rather do that in a BIM program so that you learn the BIM program because that's what you're going to use when you go into the office.
Yeah.
But for your conceptualizing and the ideation and the push-pull and exploring sizes and masses, yeah, man, SketchUp is like perfect for that. The one thing I would add though, rather than having two BIM programs and multiple rendering programs, because you only need one architectural BIM program. You only need one kind of conceptualizing program, and you only need one real-time rendering program. So D5 or whichever one. The one thing you need to add now, if you think you're going to venture into the world of doing complex modeling, you would need to choose now an advanced modeling software. So what's the name of it? Like a Blender, a Cinema 4D, a 3D Max, a Maya. That would round out, if you're talking about workflow. And you only need to go for those big guns, like if you're trying to do some crazy, I don't know, Zaha thing that SketchUp not cutting it and Revit is too rigid or technical to do. You need more tools. You would want to go for something that you would learn one of those other ones that is a bit more advanced. Like over the summer or something. Like don't do it before your final crit or something.
No, definitely not, sir.
And then you would have everything in each category. Something for concept. You have an architectural BIM program, you have a rendering program, and you have a go-to when you have to do some weird, complex thing that's not really architectural.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
Just one more question, sir.
Mm-hmm.
One point in time, I was actually trying to work between AutoCAD and I believe Revit. And when I was trying to export a document from AutoCAD, it wasn't translating into Revit. So I had to find external software so it can be transported easier. Like an FCA file, like turning the AutoCAD file into a FCA file, then to put it into Revit. Would I need to do any type of translation like that again between these softwares? Or
you mean in terms of from a broad career perspective, or you mean just for CSA if you think you're going to be needing to move between them?
For both, sir.
Just for both?
Yeah.
Well, the easy answer to that is AutoCAD is like weirdly perhaps here to stay with us for another couple decades. There's just some people that just use AutoCAD. A lot of engineers use AutoCAD. A lot of people in related fields use it. So at some point, you're going to have to do some kind of importing or exporting or working with somebody who is using AutoCAD files. That there's no escape from that, even all the way up to in career. At least I don't see people moving that quick into other industries, moving that quick away from AutoCAD. The other thing is that there are ways to do that. So every way is unique. We can't go into it right now, but there are ways to translate, like I don't know, some kind of detail that was done in AutoCAD. Maybe it's a window manufacturer and they did their detail in AutoCAD and you need it to go into Revit. There are workflows to get it in without have to like go all the way to a IFC and all that craziness. There are ways to get it in, you know. As it relates to CSA, like we have pretty much phased out AutoCAD out of the curriculum because most students are doing it from high school. And most people come to CSA don't really come to CSA to like learn AutoCAD because it feels like you're going backward, you know, and the industry is moving towards BIM. So AutoCAD isn't even in our curriculum anymore and in computing. So for the rest of CSA, unless you work with AutoCAD, like pretty much all the drafting you do is and can be done in Revit. Revit can do drafting just like AutoCAD. I argue even better, but that's an argument for another day. So that's the short answer, right? In the industry, yeah, you're gonna have to work with AutoCAD at some point. In CSA, maybe unlikely because I don't think we have any assessments that require you to use AutoCAD anymore, at least for computing.
Yes, then.
Yeah, man.
And just a final thing, sir. Just to summarize, the best software for me to have right now would be Maya to work.
You mean an advanced one?
Yes. I kind of said Maya, so I think that's all right for now. But
Maya, no, I would say if I was to put it on a list, I would say when I hear Rhino, I don't know how to use Rhino yet. Is who said I'm going to teach me it? I don't remember who said.
I think it's Carlo.
Right. So I don't know where Rhino fall on the list, but for me, I would say 3D Max if you want an advanced software. 3D Max or Blender, Blender is very accessible. It's free. Just download it and it works. It's maybe a little bit harder to learn than Max. I think maybe I don't know. I mean, I've used it and I've taught it.
But that's not really specialized though, sir. Like, it's not specialized. It's very broad, right?
Right, it's broad. It's broad. Those Maya, Max, Blender, Cinema 4D, they're all broad. You can create anything from an eyeball to a house. But in terms of what I would suggest related to the field of architecture, I would go more 3D Max, primarily because it's Autodesk. It's more compatible with AutoCAD and Revit or whatever. Yeah. And maybe second would be Blender or Rhino. You know, there's a tie between those two. I only know Blender just because it's just accessible. But I think Max would be up there first because it's more closer to your field. Maya is closer to animation and characters and that kind of stuff. So I would there's a lot more resources related to architecture available with 3D Max compared to with Maya and even Blender. When you're talking about in the field architecture,
yes.
Yeah, you're building some weird complex structural thing that you want the freedom of a complex software, then Max would be on the top of the list for sure.
Okay.
Yeah, man.
Thank you for that, sir.
Yeah, man, no problem. And I mean, these are some good questions. Anybody here that is left, there's a few of you, you have the benefit of getting the answers to those questions. All right, or check the recording. But yeah, man, good questions. All right, so hopefully see you next week.
Yes, sir. Hopefully.
All right, cool. Take it easy.